Okay, so before we even jump in and try and break this into pieces, I want to just listen to Django's solo. As I say, we're going to learn 2 choruses, so it's just there's a bit after where we're going to stop that he continues to solo, and you can check that out, of course. We're trying to bite off 32 bars of his solo. So here's what it sounds like. So now we're going to jump into the solo. I'll just go ahead and play it. We're going to do basically 2 choruses and leave some off of what he recorded. So here's the solo from the top. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So that's what we're going to try and learn today, that much. And there's a whole huge amount of inspiration and stuff to check out within that. And of course, you can go on and learn more of his solos. There's another chorus of single line stuff, and then he starts to do some chord melody stuff that's really beautiful too. So after the introduction, after that, and it lands on the E chord, what he plays is this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And he's got a chord below that. Obviously, we don't have the same options as a guitar player does. So you could do A minor 6. You could do A minor. I like the sound of either of these. So you could put an A minor chord, A, E, C, and then the second voicing, when you go to a B, could be an E7. So I'm playing G sharp, open D, and then B on top of that. So like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. It's a nice, decent option. Or you could do it a single note. To me, whatever you like is good. It's nice just to know where he chooses to play. So that's the beginning. That's the first 2 bars. Right before it gets to the downbeat of the top of the form. And when you get to the top of the form, we have this phrase that sounds like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So let's try for that. We've got a couple notes of A. 2, 3, 4, 1. That's the first measure of the first A section. It's on the end of 1, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, up, down, down, right? And the second measure sounds like this: 2, 3, 4, 1. So that's the second measure into the downbeat of measure 3. And again, it starts on the and of 1. So try and start this phrase again with an upstroke. So it'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So earlier I said we're in A minor, which is true. Although, as you may have found in life, when somebody says this key's in a minor key, it's not as specific as saying, if I were to say this is an A major, generally speaking, that's more specific than this is in a minor key, because sometimes a minor key has a flat at 6, as it will in this case. Sometimes it has a major 6th. Sometimes it has a a flatted seventh, and sometimes it has the major seventh. So as you'll see in this measure, and you'll see later, it's going to shift. It's not always the same set of notes that make up the core of the ideas that he's playing on this one. So in a different way, what I'm trying to say is he's using a G sharp now, but be careful because he uses G naturals as well. So he's kind of shifting between those, and the same is true for F and F sharp. So watch out for that. And C and C sharp. So in this case, we're going to go B, A, G sharp, B, A, G sharp, A, B, A, G sharp, B. That's that measure. And then the last note, which is actually the part of a phrase that continues in measure 3 of the A section. But the last note is the A. So let's try for measure 2 of the A section. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And measure 3, check it out, goes down a D minor arpeggio. And it adds a B on the bottom. So we got A, F, D, B. And that's a really common sound in this music, a minor 6th arpeggio. So D minor with 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a really common sound. And he's using it for the melody there. So that's the first 3 bars of the A section. And the fourth one has this really nice line. It sounds like this. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So let's check that out. We got F leaping up to B, F leaping up to D, and we're walking down the scale. D, C, B, A, and when you get to G sharp, we're basically thinking of a diminished arpeggio. So G sharp with a little hammer on up to A for a second, but G sharp, F, D, B, which is a diminished arpeggio that could be named after any of those notes. B diminished, D diminished, any of those would be fine. So let's try that line a couple times, and then we'll check out how he may be thinking of it. 1, 2. And actually, the diminished idea carries on into the next measure. So we've got, starting where we just started, it sounds like this. 1, 2. And then the next measure. So that brings us through almost to the end of the first 8-bar section. So we've had this part from F to D with this diminished arpeggio. I would suggest trying to land on G sharp with your ring finger, because then you have a pinky where you can get to that hammer on, and then your first finger will be in perfect position to play the next note. And when you have the open D, I'd suggest shifting down to G sharp, to B with your ring finger, so that you can get to G sharp in a moment for the next diminished phrase. So, what we haven't learned yet is on the G sharp, you're going to play back up the diminished arpeggio. G sharp, B, D, F. And I like doing it where I do a downstroke on G sharp, a hammer on B, up on D, and then downstroke on F. So let's do that a few times. That may be alien, but the fact that it has a triplet going across a string crossing makes it where we have to do it this way, actually. Well, there's other ways you could do it, but it puts us in a situation where to get that third note to ring, we need a pick stroke, and it's easiest to do it with an upstroke. So maybe for a minute we're going to loop this idea that starts in the 6th measure of the A part. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 2, 3, 4, 1. And I'm actually doing the same thing on the E, F, E. With my right hand, it's the same approach. So let's see if we can do that and carry it through measure 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So we end with C, A, A. At that tempo, maybe we could play the whole A section. So with the intro, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 1, 2, 4, 1. Let's do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 4, 1. 4, 1, 2. 4, 1. And what happens next is a really cool phrase. It's really simple. It's just going up the A minor scale from A to D. But the rhythms he's using are kind of elevate what is really a simple phrase. So it sounds like this. We're looking at the last measure of the first 8-bar phrase. So the pickup notes leading into the first B section. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. I'll do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. 1, 2. So we go up a scale, come back down, C, B, A, and then land on B. Same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Great. And so we're starting to play. That's over the D minor chord in the B section. So in the second measure of the B part, we have this phrase that starts on the G sharp. It goes G sharp, B, A, F, E, D, C, B, and then F, E. Let's try for that phrase. There's something, a fingering quandary that needs to be addressed. So we got 1, 2. So I like landing on C with my ring finger and B with my middle finger then, and that leaves one finger left over for F, which is my first finger, and then we got to get a second note with our first finger because the next note is E. So I'm putting a slide in there where I go from F to E. So like this. And I think sometimes we forget that you can pick a note after you slide, so it doesn't have to sound like this. That's cool too, but know that you can also go where you don't. If you want to hide that slide, that's possible. Okay, so the next phrase is the one where there's one note that leaves our range on the mandolin. Of course, he's a guitar player, so he's got some notes we don't have, but this particular solo, on these choruses, there's only one note that we're missing, and it's this one. So he goes down an A minor arpeggio. He goes C, A, and then E. I'll do it up an octave so we can hear what it sounds like. And instead of just going up an octave just for that one phrase, what I'm going to do is C, A, G sharp, A. So I'm replacing the E that he plays with a G sharp that we can play. So we'll end up with a phrase that sounds like this. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going C, A, G sharp, A, C, E, A, B, C, A, B. And then there's this cool line that happens on the E7 chord. But before we play it, let's play the first 4 bars of that B section with the pickup notes. So it's going to go like this. 1, 2. slide back, and then up. So we didn't exactly address this. When you go, and by we I mean I, when you go C, A, G sharp, A, I'm going to get 3 notes in a row with my first finger. But it's actually something you can get pretty good at. Maybe the first time you do it, it's a little awkward, but it's definitely something that can be in your repertoire and can be comfortable. And it can sound smooth. So that's the first half of the first B section, and let's check out the last half, which is on this E chord is our first phrase. So we've got B, F sharp, A, G sharp, E, E flat, D, C, and then B, A, G sharp, B. And the last thing I just played was an A minor arpeggio going down from A to A. So that should be pretty friendly. A, E, C, A. So starting on that E7 chord, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Great. So that's the first half of the solo we're going to check out. And maybe we should try and play it from the top through there and see what, if there's any phrases that we want to try and understand better or analyze. So from the top, 2, 3, 4, 1. 4, 1, 2. 4, 1. 1, 2. So, there's one thing I forgot to mention when we were doing the so that diminished line happens against an E chord, and I'll try and give a sense of what it sounds like. So if this is the root note, we have these notes. And it's a specific relationship, of course, this diminished chord to the root note. We're on the 5 chord, we're on the E chord. And if you play a diminished arpeggio starting a half step above the root note of the 5 chord, you end up with the flat 9, the 3rd, the 5, and the flat 7th. So if what you're trying to do is have this chord, E7, with this sound, thinking about a diminished arpeggio there is a way to get it. So whenever I'm in a minor key, if I want the 5 chord to have that flat 9 sound, which is the sound you get if you add the note that's a half step above the root note of the 5 chord, in this case the F, of course. If I want that sound, a lot of times I'll picture a diminished arpeggio starting a half step above the root of the chord. And that's what he's doing. We don't, of course, know how he's thinking about it, but that's that sound. What else have we got? Notice that the G sharp in the second measure of the B part, so like I say, it's going to shift back and forth between G and G natural, F and F sharp sometimes. For example, F sharp there. One of my takeaways is that, you know, when the chord isn't articulating that you need a G sharp or a G natural when the chord, in this case, like an A minor, is a triad that doesn't have a G necessarily. It leaves it open to your interpretation. That sounds good with a G. G sharp can sound good there as well. So there's a little bit more room for, there's ambiguity there, and you kind of have to put your ear to work and make decisions. So.